Cafe Wish podcast. This is your host, Cabin Black. And
like Hinduism and Buddhism. So like the Hinduism has the branch which is I don't know if it's Roman Catholic and the Islam. So that's the third. But I've heard as well from other speaker that Roman Catholicism was really created by the African people, just what I've heard from it, because that's what they've taught as well when it comes to Black Nazareth of God.
I just want to clear some things up. You're welcome to do your own research as well. I just want to clear a couple things up. So Hinduism and Buddhism. So Buddhism is a branch of Hinduism. It comes from Hinduism, right? Buddha was a Hindu. And you know the story about Buddha. He was a prince who went on a journey. He spoke to a holy man and was enlightened on this journey that he was invited to go on by this holy man. And Buddha was from Nepal region area. Um, at that time, it wasn't called Nepal, right? It was all part of India, and India wasn't always called India. Um, the point being, Buddha comes from the Nepal area, and he was enlightened, and he created Buddhism. He was one of the founding people, if not the founder of Buddhism itself. Um, but Roman Catholicism, if we look at it as a standalone religion, it started in we consider the new Holy Roman Empire, right? Which was the Roman part of the Roman Empire at one time. So it started in Rome. Um, but how did it get to my question? Roman Catholicism, which has its foundation in Europe, how did it get to the Philippines?
How did the just to clarify to understand, how did the Roman Catholic get into the Philippines? Well, first, before we were like ethnic people here, like indigenous people in the Philippines, and during the 50s, 1850s of, the people here was like a normal living indigenous. And then suddenly in Cebu, like what I've said, especially in Mactan, there was a person, a traveler from Rome, which is Magellan, and they were traveled and they've seen this island, and the island name is Limasawa Island. So when they got there, they've seen a lot of ethnic people. They don't have like any clothes like the normal people who wear right now. They only just wear like, for the man it's underwear, because that's how the people lives here in the Philippines before. And then suddenly they introduced the religion, because that time Filipino was really scared of how they looked, because it's different from what the people here in the Philippines look from the from the people who colonize us. And we were able to understand the culture. But before the Filipino understand those things, especially when they brought the religion here, which is the Roman Catholic, there were lots of war happen. And that's also the time that the Filipinos started to have a name hero here, which is Lapu-Lapu, because he was the king that time who confront Magellan. And Filipinos don't want to believe first on Roman Catholic, because we believe on god and goddesses of oceans, gods of waves, air and sun, air, just like that. And it was really hard for us to understand everything. But suddenly, with all of the hard work of Magellan, he was able to brought and let the Filipino understand about the religion, and that's how it started.
That's a very interesting mythology um, of how it started. Let's deal with some facts. Were the Filipino people enslaved?
Um, Well, Filipino, that's not really a slave, by the way. I don't know if that's correct.
Did Okay, let me ask this question. Did the conquistadors and the Spaniards come to the Philippines and enslave the Philippines?
Yes. That's true, and that's the fact. So when they colonized us, we were, that's the reason there was a war happen, and then after that, the Filipino was able to understand the Roman Catholic because the tools that bring of Magellan was, of a lot. It's much like updated when it comes in a war. So we were also experienced to under Roman under Rome people when we were colonized. So the people here in the Philippines experience a lot of, you know, hard moment and struggle, and we were slave by the way.
So it's safe to say, I don't want to speak for you or put words in your mouth, but it's safe to say that Catholicism, Roman Catholicism, was brought to the Philippines by way of slavery. That's
Yes.
how the Filipino indigenous people were made known of Roman Catholicism is in slavery.
Yeah, that is correct. The Roman Catholic brought here, in that way that you mentioned, slavery. And up until this day, it was also written in our history because, we were all colonized. That's why, we were quite different from the original Filipino. So we do have, a belief, but when the Roman, when the Rome, colonized us and brought the Roman Catholic, it's made us more different, and we suffered a lot from it.
Okay. Now I'm gonna get into some uncomfortable truths here. Truth is based upon facts. So a fact is something that can be proven to be true or demonstrated to be true, which helps prove what is true. So truth is only contingent based upon what is proven to be true, hence a fact. Then reality is shaped by that truth. Reality is what is known to be real or can be observed to be real based upon a truth, based upon a fact. Okay. So there's something called the doctrine of discovery. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Do you know what doctrine of discovery is?
Mm, I'm not so sure, but I would love as well to know.
Okay. So this is coming from uh, the. Okay. This is coming from a website. I'm pulling up really quickly here. It's npr.org. There's a title here, an article that they produced. The Vatican uh, repudiates doctrine of discovery, which was used to justify colonialism. Read it again. npr.org. Religion. The Vatican repudiates doctrine of discovery, which was used to justify colonialism. All right. The doctrine, this is from one of the paragraphs, okay? All right. For nearly 500 years after papal decrees were used to rationalize Europe's colonial conquest, the Vatican repudiated those decrees, saying the doctrine of discovery that was used to justify snuffing out indigenous, indigenous peoples' culture and livelihoods is not part of the Catholic faith. but it was. At one point in time, the doctrine of discovery was just as much as the part of Catholicism, Roman Catholicism, as it was doing the Holy Cross, right? Doing a prayer, Holy Communion. The doctrine of discovery was a doctrine that the Roman Catholic Church practiced. All right? It was just as much a part of the religion as meeting for church for Mass every Sunday, as meeting for prayer, as it was taking communion. All right. So continue on here. I want to reread this part. The doctrine of discovery that was used to justify snuffing out indigenous peoples' culture and livelihoods is not a part of the Catholic faith, but once again it was. Continuing on, the doctrine was invoked as a legal and religious standing by Europeans, white Europeans, who discovered, quote unquote, discovered new lands and violently seized it from people who had been living there for generations, for thousands of years. That is the doctrine of discovery. And that was what the conquistadors, the Spaniards, Magellan, all the people involved in this pursuit, this colonization project from white Europeans, by way of using religion to change people's livelihoods, change people's way of life, to literally make their status be different from who they were, indigenous identities, to a slave. And it was